Paul says you cannot serve both God and money. Well, there's another way of looking at that I don't think we look at it enough. You also can't be afraid. We're told to fear God, the beginning of wisdom. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Well, what are we afraid of in the world? Think about some of the things that people are afraid of. And I don't just mean, brown folks, because that comes up quite a bit. What is it that they're afraid of? They're afraid of poverty, right? A lot of times these guys are going to come steal your jobs. These guys are going to come take your house. These guys are going to come and take what you value. They're afraid of poverty. They're afraid of starvation. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of losing what it is they have, even if what they have is itty bitty. They're afraid of losing the little bit that they have. And that's why we say, okay, you got to watch out for these brown people coming across that southern border. They're gonna come and take it. Why are we afraid of money? Why are we afraid of the lack of money? Give that some thought. Why are we afraid of the lack of money? Well, because without it we would starve. Without it we'd live in a tent. That's right. But only because of the system we live in. Like if we really wanted to take away fear of poverty, fear of losing your job, why wouldn't we come up with a systemic way of doing it where there is no poverty? What if we did that? Oh, listen, one of the reasons why people hate each other is because of poverty. One of the reasons why people hate each other is because of their fear of living in a tent. One of the reasons that people are always competing with each other and comparing themselves to others. And one of the reasons why they're pointing their fingers at everybody and blaming other people is because they're afraid that they will one day be destitute. They're afraid that they'll one day be poor. Well, we can alleviate all that anxiety. We can alleviate all that fear. We can alleviate all that hatred. We can alleviate all that division by taking away poverty. What if we just change the system? Instead of blaming people for coming and making us fail, what if we change the system so that we can't fail like that? Or our quote-unquote failure wouldn't result in something like that? What if we just change the system? Well, if we change the system, there'd be some really unhappy, powerful people. The system benefits a very, very few. And those very, very few are willing to invest a great deal in keeping the system just the way that it is. As a matter of fact, this is going to sound really strange. This is me out there on a conspiracy theory. I think one of the reasons why we still have people living in plain view, living in tents in plain view. I think one of the reasons why we still have poverty, why we still have people panhandling, it isn't because we can't feed them. It isn't because we can't house them. It isn't because we can't provide for them. It's because if we provided for them and eliminated the little tent communities we see, then we would alleviate the fear that other people have about being destitute. And I think we want people. I think the system wants people afraid of poverty. We want people afraid of going without. We want people afraid of living in tents. We want people afraid of those possibilities. Because if they're afraid, they are manageable. If they're afraid, they are much more manageable to us. They're much more likely to do the things that we want them to do. They're much more likely to get in and stay in line. So a woke Christian, why is a woke Christian dangerous? That's why. Because a woke Christian who's truly following Christ, they're not afraid of it. A woke Christian who's truly following Christ is working to alleviate the anxieties of all those people that are afraid of it. A woke Christian who's truly following Christ wants to change the system. That's why a woke Christian is dangerous. Amen.